huge welcome, a great big hello. Here you are, here I am, and welcome to my podcast. We are all fine, flawed, insecure, nervous and emotional. My name is Heidi and I'm a counsellor specialising in working with young people and young adults just like you. You join me for episode 3, so as always, make yourselves comfortable and get ready for more words of support and encouragement from my counselling ears to your listening ears. This episode, we're going to be taking a look at low mood and what it actually feels like. Let's talk about why it shows up and what we can do with it until it passes. I tend to separate out low mood and depression with my clients. I see low mood as a regular and normal feeling, which we will all have at one point in our lives. It'll affect us feeling happy, confident and contented. I see depression as something more long-term, heavier in presentation and having a bigger impact on our day-to-day lives. Depression can stop us from functioning as we'd like to. Subtle differences, I do know that, but defining them like this I have found helps the young people I work with. You know and I know how common low mood is. We are all going to experience it. In fact, this morning when I wake up early, felt in an absolutely foul mood. No reason why. I'd slept well, the sun was out, I went for a walk, I still felt really growly. I couldn't be bothered coming and doing this podcast. I just wanted to completely cancel my day. Okay, fast forward a few hours, I feel much better. But that just gives you an example of how it can affect our mood and where it can grab us. And we don't always know why. Now, my low mood today just lasted a couple of hours, but I've been in positions in my own life where it's lasted weeks. Sometimes it's felt like months. You are not a negative person if you have episodes of low mood. You are a typical young person if you experience it. Remember, we are all fine. It will come and go and can be triggered by so many different things. Hormones, for one. The girls amongst you listening will appreciate how your mood will change throughout the month and how some days you want to cry all of the time with no real understanding as to what's making you feel so bad. Your low mood may affect your energy levels as well, your sleep, your motivation and your confidence. You may well feel sad and not be able to pinpoint why, like myself this morning. You may feel very teary and sensitive to other people's thoughts and feelings, and you may get angry, frustrated, feel more disappointed way more quickly than normal. Some of you will feel a level of hopelessness and worthlessness. You basically will feel fed up, off, all out of sorts and struggle to get excited or happy about anything. As we know, this will be felt by all of us somewhere throughout our lives. It's when they are hanging around for weeks or months even, and you're not able to break away from them. It's at that moment with my clients I might start talking about depression. Counsellors cannot and do not diagnose their clients, but what we can do is feedback what we are seeing and encourage a client to consider seeking medical support if the mood is low and constant and is hanging around. Maybe after listening to this, you might be seeking out a counsellor to share your feelings with, or maybe a GP to help look at what you are feeling and find ways of managing that, and sometimes that could mean with medication. Antidepressants are not for low mood. We can sort that ourselves. They're rather for depression, which we cannot always shift ourselves, or sometimes which is clinical. And by that I mean if you have any kind of mental health disorder that causes persistent low mood, for example, a loss of interest in activities, withdrawing from others, this long-term feeling will affect your ability to think, feel and function in daily life. Take a moment to consider which of these feels like your experience, having low mood or having depression, maybe a mixture of both. Both can be managed, and if you can, live a full life if you do experience them. If you think you're suffering from depression, you don't need to. The amount of times I've worked with people over the years who've turned up and they felt absolutely depressed or, really quite unwell for years and just put it down as being normal, chances are you'll be feeling mentally or physically low, which is why you might be listening to this podcast to try and make yourself feel a little bit better. I am a huge fan, as you're going to get to know, of listening to what my body is telling me and trying to give it what it needs. So let's start with this. Check in with your body now and see what it's trying to tell you. Is it sad, scared, worried, tired, hungry, aching, thirsty? Do you feel mentally low or physically low or both? Having some idea of what it is we are feeling will only help us get to the right support we need to improve that mood. Or like myself this morning, it blew over. I didn't need to do anything with it. So just think about how you're feeling right now. If you are physically low, you might be feeling tired. So let's look at how you're sleeping. People with insomnia have much higher risk of low mood and depression. If you have poor sleep, you may have difficulties regulating your emotions when you're awake. Now, this is a tricky one to manage, as poor sleep causes low mood and low mood causes poor sleep. You might not be fully aware as to what is causing what here, so don't try too hard to figure that out. Let's just try and get the sleep sorted, as that is only going to be a good thing and will help you with your low mood. First thing you need to look at is when we're looking at your sleep hygiene is the time you go to bed. Going to bed at the same time every day really is the ideal. Sticking to a fixed bedtime routine and waking up at the same time every day really will help get your body into a healthy sleep-wake cycle. Don't go too deep on the same time here. Allow an hour either side of that, and that will promote the sleep habit too. Even eating your dinner at the same time every day will help you fall asleep better. Now, this is the ideal, but if it's not possible with work, studying, or you do have a fantastic social life, or you're way too busy, don't worry too much. There are still things you can do to help yourself. Have you heard of the 3-2-1-0 sleep rule? This is a great routine. You can choose to stick to every day, and it really will help kickstart those good sleeping patterns. Now, 3 stands for the hours before bed, where food and alcohol should be limited. Eating large amounts before bed is challenging for your digestive system, and it can cause havoc with your concentration too. Also, the more tired you are in the day will affect how much you eat. I know when I'm feeling tired, or I've not had a good night's sleep, or I've had a stressful day, I'm in the biscuit tin, I'm going to the crisps, I'm eating all of those things just to get that instant lift to increase my mood, to give me the energy I need to crack on. But if you can try and plan the day where you are about, we're not rigid here, you are about 3 hours free from food and booze before you turn that light off. If you can't, don't stress, but this is going to be one way of trying to get a better night's sleep. 2 stands for the number of hours before bed where you should not be working. So try and protect these 2 hours the best you can and keep them spare for you. Try and protect this time for you, or what you can spare of it, as your wind down time where you don't have to think, where you're giving your brain permission to relax and prepare to sleep. If sleep is just part of what we need to do, a good way of looking at it is preparing. We prepare for school, we prepare for our nights out, let's prepare for sleep as well. Brains are basically computers, and if you don't let the computer rest, you're going to fill up your hard drive and it's going to blow up. Your brain needs you here, so listen to that. Put the books away and get your head into doing something nurturing for yourself. Not involve concentrating, just chilling and relaxing. 1. Now that stands for 1 hour. You're not going to like it here, and I can hear the groans already. You know what's coming. 1 hour screen-free time before you go to bed. Yes, you want to go on your socials and chat to your friends for as long as you can. Of course you do. That's all great. If it doesn't mess with your sleep, you crack on. But it probably will. Now think of all the blue light that emits from those screens. The information you are receiving from your screen is overwhelming and stimulating you, and not actually relaxing you and chilling you out. When you're on the TikToks or YouTube, whatever you're doing, you're chasing the dopamine. Dopamine is going to make it that much harder for us to go to sleep when it's up there on the roof. What we need to do at these times is start to think about preparing, remember. So just giving yourself, you've got 2 hours of me time and 1 hour of screen-free time. The information you're receiving from your screen is overwhelming you and stimulating you, not relaxing you and chilling you out. And I bet you now many of you have gone to bed with a reel or comment whirling around in your brain. It may have annoyed you or triggered you. And that is how you're going to start your bedtime routine. Think about it, wound up and anxious. That is never going to help you get to a peaceful place in your brain where sleep is possible, is it? Now try it tonight. Just keep the devices out of reach in your room and definitely on silent or do not disturb. By trying it this evening, you've actually got nothing to lose. You're listening to this podcast to try and find ways of managing that low mood. And believe me, if you haven't got the fundamentals in place, and one of those is sleep for your mental well-being, tackling your low mood is going to be really, really difficult to do. So we've done 3, 2, 1 and 0. Now 0 is the amount of times you're going to hit the snooze button. Don't do it. You need to let your body know who is boss, and when the alarm goes off, you are in charge. So yes, the covers might feel like concrete, but ask yourself how much you want to sleep well the next night. This is about paying forward. It's about getting up and get going about the same time every morning if you can, to get your circadian rhythm working for you, not against you. Not heard of the circadian rhythm? Right, I'll briefly explain what that is. You do really need one of these to optimize your sleep habits. It's your body's internal clock that regulates your sleep-wake cycle and other bodily function. A 24-hour cycle, and it's influenced by light and dark, as well as other factors like food, stress, and physical activity. How it works is, your brain sets the circadian rhythm which tells your body when to sleep and when to get up. The biggest influences are light and dark. So when it's light, your body stops producing melatonin, and that's a hormone that does make you sleep. So back to what I was suggesting earlier, giving your body chance to relax and unwind without a screen feeding you light, this will impact how you fall asleep. Darker rooms give the melatonin a nudge, basically telling your brain you're ready to go to sleep. Continuing with reasons you may be feeling physically low, eating regular meals as healthily as you can is going to help fuel and nourish your body. You know this. Skipping meals, eating the wrong food most or all of the time, I'm thinking ultra-processed foods here, and not drinking enough water will absolutely make you feel awful inside and out. Not enough food or enough of the right food and enough water will show up on your skin, on your hair, on your nails, on your energy levels. Every part of your body will tell you something is wrong if you're not eating or drinking correctly. We're really quite clever and sneaky at ignoring that. I've done it myself for years. But the moment I can start to think a little bit more carefully about what I eat is the moment my body starts to relax and feel more comfortable. You know, there's so much information on the internet about what vitamins you might need and what foods can provide them for you. But how I say this to my clients, and this is quite easy, is think colour. You need to eat a variety of colours to make sure you're doing the best you can for yourself. So if, like many of you, and like me, you opt for the beiger foods that aren't that great, thinking white bread, pasta, chips, cakes, crackers, that kind of thing. They're all okay in moderation, by the way. But if this is your staple diet, you may well find changing that will lift your mood. If you feel vanilla, you will think vanilla. Basically, a poor diet will result in a higher risk of low mood and depression in young people like you. And making those smaller changes that I'm suggesting here are going to help you. Just tiny things, swapping out a beige food for a more colourful choice, trying to get into a habit, I know it's hard, of eating 5 fruit and veg a day, getting yourself a water bottle and making sure 2 litres go in that and then in you, and eating those smaller regular meals when your body needs it. Try and test out what works for you. You may not want to eat breakfast. Fine, get some juice or a smoothie. You can skip it. And you may not like eating in front of others. I hear that such a lot. So work around it if you can. Maybe a protein shake or a smoothie. You need to keep the blood sugars up for the energy. Eating what you enjoy and what you want to is the ideal, but I totally understand that isn't going to work for everybody. I really appreciate there are many of you listening to this who are going to struggle with eating and will have a difficult relationship with food. There'll be more podcasts to come on this, but also take the time to have a look at what is out there. I mean, in terms of support, to help you understand why you might have a disordered relationship with what you eat. Food insecurity is such an issue as well, causing feelings of shame and stigma, which will, of course, guess what? Smack your mood right in the face, leaving you feel bruised and sore. What you eat is only part of the story with the low mood. But what I am suggesting on this podcast is you consider, when trying to change the low mood, if it feels more physical than mental, to address the fundamentals of well-being first. And for me, these are food, sleep, exercise, having a solid sense of self, a decent enough identity, and an emotional connection to others and nature. Right now, though, as we look at low mood and what causes it, and how do we get through it? I have worked with so many young people who don't have the foundations right to build anything from, that they really do struggle. They get so low in mood, they feel there is no way out, and then some other damaging habits may form to counteract the sadness and the hopelessness. This will almost, most definitely affect how we feel about ourselves, impacting on our self-worth, increasing emotional stress, and then we are anxious all of the time, feeling it in every bone and every blood vessel, streaming through our bodies until we absolutely break. But we can't always break. And if we do, we feel we failed ourselves somehow. If we admit we're tired and we're struggling or we're scared, and guess what then we do? We start overthinking. Being a human being in this 21st century world is bloody difficult. We always look to others and they see that they're coping, that they're happy, they've got all their shit together. That is total bollocks, but try telling that to your anxious brain when it's looking for the joy and the peace or the answers, hitting brick wall after brick wall against all of those no entry signs. Life needs us to be smarter, thinner, prettier, stronger, more handsome, more in control, more in demand, more. I call this the more war, and I tell you now, you are never going to win it. If you can try to at least get your sleep patterns working for you and eat the best you can when you can, sip the water when you remember to do so, go for a walk, get out and meet a friend, all of those things we know help us, are usually the first things to go when we start to come undone. Self-care is such a well-used word, and yet one of the things we practice the least. Looking after yourself has to start from you. I can't do it for you. It has to start from within. You need to take responsibility for looking at what's going on in your life. If you don't want to change any of that, that's on you. But if you do, which I guess is why you're listening to this now, if you are looking at your low mood, and one surefire way I know will keep yours on zero is not looking after yourself properly. It happens to me all the time. The moment stress and anxiety visit me, which they do regularly, I completely let go of everything that matters. I completely stop looking after myself. Before we move on to talking about how it feels when we're mentally low, just take a minute and think about what we've discussed so far on this podcast. Have I suggested anything that might be able to help you? Remember, I appreciate you, your time, and your commitment to tuning in. Together, we're trying to find better ways for you to feel. Today's episode is looking at how we can work out what causes our low mood and how we can manage it until it passes. It will usually pass over us, and something will happen that improves our overall mood and well-being. If it doesn't pass and you recognise that within yourself, it's never going to be a bad idea to seek out some professional support. If you have a counsellor in your school, college or university and you think that could help, refer yourself there. There's the GP, a school nurse, a trusted teacher, best friend, family member. Think who you have around you and who could listen to you. They may not have the answers, like I might not, but I'm hoping they will have the space you need to start to work out what's going to help you when your mood dial is at zero. If you're feeling mentally low, it's going to cause you to stop doing the things you like. You're just not going to have the energy. You're not going to have the inclination or the motivation. You're just not going to feel bothered. Possibly cutting yourself off from your friends. Your attendance in school, college or uni might be affected. What I also look for in my clients when we're looking at signs of withdrawing, you withdraw from yourself. So that includes withdrawing from maybe paying attention to what you look like, withdrawing from social media, withdrawing from doing the things like, your hobbies, your sports, the things like that. You're also going to be feeling quite sad, worried, anxious or panicked, and often not going to really fully understand why. There might not be an obvious trigger for low mood, remember. Think about myself this morning. I got up. There was no real reason. It did pass, but don't always look for the reason if you can't find one. That'll do your head in. If you find yourself stuck in a low mood, and if you can, try and work out how it got there. Now, I use this technique. Think of it as like a seed. It was planted and it's now growing. And who or what planted it there? Can you link it to an event or a person? Loss of a pet, failed exam, rejection from somebody, an argument with a best friend, weight gain, weight loss, financial situation, maybe not getting a job or a uni offer. By allowing yourself to locate the seed, you are going to normalise the feeling. So of course you're going to feel bloody awful if you've fallen out with your friend or you didn't get the offer from the uni you wanted. Chances are the seed may have taken root and now you're growing the feelings. So like attracts like. The lower you feel because something happened, the lower you're going to feel until it stops mattering and you get your head back into life again. Which you will. Know that the low mood will pass. Knowing that, waiting for it to do so is much better for your mental health than ignoring it and not doing anything with it. If you ignore it, it will grow and it might grow out of control. If you tend to it, you have some level of control, and what you then decide to do about that is up to you. I hope explaining it that way will make sense to you. So if you do have the seed, now what? You start by being kinder to yourself. You know the reason you're feeling so awful. It may well be justified. If it is, do something kind for your low mood. Acknowledge it is there and that it is temporary. So what can you do now to ease it a little bit and honour that feeling? Think about what you'd like to do with yourself. Try thinking now about what it is you like to do. So for me, you can't underestimate the power of being outside in the fresh air, in the woods, walking, just sitting on the beach, opening the window, grabbing a coffee, or for me it would be a Diet Coke, watching the world go by. People watching is absolutely magnificent for your bruised soul. Go and watch a bunch of people and make up their backstories. That will make you smile if nothing else. My husband and I do this on holiday. We do people watch. And we try and guess their professions. Okay, you might not feel like doing that now, especially if you're feeling physically tired. But you could find a few minutes in your day to go and try and do something for yourself. This is about you. This podcast is about you. If you're fine, flawed, insecure, nervous and emotional, like the rest of us, you've got every opportunity now to just take a few moments, grab this time after the podcast and think about things you enjoy doing for yourself. You might be thinking exercise or call that friend you've not messaged for ages. Watch a rerun of your favourite show, meditate for a few minutes, walk the dog, get a bath, clear out your wardrobe, cull your old clothes, stick them on vintage, you might make a few quid. You know what I'm trying to say here. Just think about it. It's really helpful to have things in almost like a toolkit, if you like. You'll probably hear me say this a lot, but a little bit of a self-care toolkit. So when the low mood strikes, what am I going to do with that? If you are more prepared, as we've been talking about with sleep here, you're going to be able to be more prepared, faster, more effective to get on top of that low mood before it gets on top of you. I'll share something here that happens when I get low. I tend to have a huge pity party in my head. I feel so much worse for just languishing in the state of my mind. It's like I don't want to stop the party. It's almost self-sabotaging it. I want to feel as shit as I can, so I subconsciously start inviting in all the negative thoughts I've managed to have over my life. I'm like, come on, bring it on. I'm now drowning in misery at this point with no way of calling time on the party. I'm going over and over and over again. Now remember, thoughts are sticky and they fester. So this is all normal. My pity party, your pity party, call it what you want, is normal to you. We all do it. I, however, at this stage cannot get out of my own head without some help. It often takes my husband to challenge me and remind me I'm not the biggest piece of shit walking, or for the cat to come in and lick me to death, to force the corners of my mouth to start turning up, or for the sun to wink at me from behind those darker clouds here, reminding me that spring is on the way and the darker days of winter are behind me. See me and this podcast as your cat or your sunshine. Listen to my words and do yourself a favour now and ask your unwanted guests to leave your pity party. Shoo them out the door. Take a big breath in and go and get yourself something tasty to eat or something nice to drink. Just start there. Sit by a window with a book, your phone, your music on. If the weather allows, you can open the window. Low mood is there, but so now is hope. If you cannot find the seed, do not drive yourself mad trying to do so. You can still go through all of the motions I've just suggested. Get out of your own head. You are stuck in it. It's lonely. And if, like me, you need some help to get out, work out what help you need and make that happen. Breaking this cycle and your mood will absolutely lift. That was episode 3, and you will always get a thank you from me at the end of each of my episodes because I know how precious your time is. So thank you for taking some of it to join me today on We Are All Fine, my podcast for young people and young adults. From my counselling years to your listening ears, you are always, always welcome. This is our space and you are valued. I really hope you leave the show today with a much better understanding of how you can help yourself when you have a low mood. I've suggested looking at your physical well-being, including your sleep and your eating, to start from those foundations first. Getting the basics right will always be a good start for tackling any type of low mood. If you have liked what you've heard, tell others and share this episode. And if you've loved what you've heard, please rate the show. Subscribing to my podcast is easy. You can find We Are All Fine and myself on all the usual social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. You are always welcome to contact me via email in my show notes. Please join me next week as we continue with feelings. Okay, I've got a great episode for you where we're going to be looking at what happens when we are feeling emotionally numb and empty inside. I will share how you can manage that and get from neutral to first gear and beyond. And with that in mind, if you're sitting your driving test or theory this week, massive good luck from me to you. We are all flawed, insecure, nervous and emotional, but always remember, be yourself, you're no one else. Until next time, you take care. Finally, some important takeaways. The podcast is for informational use only and should not be used as a substitution for professional advice or for personal diagnosis. These opinions are personal and I do not guarantee the accuracy of such opinions or information. I am not intending to create a counselling relationship with you, and you should always consult a qualified mental health professional with any concerns.